So anytime you're using any power tools or even hand tools in class, you need to wear safety glasses. I'm getting all these cameras going, I apologize. So safety glasses. So the first thing you do when you come into class, when we get back in school, when you come into this class, is you'll stop by the cabinet that has all the safety glasses. Your safety glasses will be assigned to you. They'll have a number. You'll have to pick up your safety glasses, then you can go to your assigned seat. You won't have to put these on until I say, okay, we're ready to go to work. Put your safety glasses on. Now, once that happens, you are not to take your safety glasses on at all until the end of class. When you're walking out the door, you can put your safety glasses back where you got them from. So safety glasses is something that you will be wearing in this class at all times. Now, the thing was that yesterday I did mention that when you're operating power tools or any machinery that has moving parts, you want to make sure that you're not wearing anything on yourself that can get caught up in those moving parts, and that will create a dangerous situation for you. So if you have long hair, make sure that you put your hair in a rubber band or in a hat, whatever you got to do in order to keep that hair from falling into the moving parts. If you're wearing baggy clothes, make sure that you pull sleeves up and none of your clothes are able to get caught in the moving parts. Okay, it's important. Some of these things move pretty fast, and they'll wrap up your clothes, they'll wrap up a long necklace, they'll wrap up your hair, and it's going to try to pull you into the machine. So along with our number one rule, which is never ever look away, you shouldn't be wearing anything when you're operating machines that can get caught up in the moving parts and pull the rest of you into the machine. So never wear gloves when you're operating power tools or machinery. All of those things, anything that's on you that can get dragged or caught up into moving parts, you don't want to wear those. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you the different parts of the machine. I'm going to move this camera closer to it so you guys can see it, and I'll be giving an explanation. I'll have recordings of this up probably this evening or tomorrow morning so you guys can review them and use them to answer the worksheet that I gave you for this particular machine. The only thing is that it's not going to have the belt sander. The worksheet is only for the disc sander. We have a combination of both, so you'll still be able to use it. Okay. Is that this is the table, and the table has the ability, it's on the other side, to move. So you can see this lever right here. When I loosen that lever, the table moves. Okay, you want it at a 90-degree angle unless you're sanding something that has an angle to it, but that's how you move the table. The table moves up and down. Now, you should always have about an 1/8-inch gap right here, okay, away from the sandpaper. You should always have an 1/8-inch gap. If this sandpaper is torn in any way, you need to let me know. If it's frayed, parts of it come loose, because we need to change it. So you never want to use sandpaper that's frayed or cut. Okay, you always want it to be intact, because you can run into problems. The way you sand or you change this belt, it has a drum here and a drum on the bottom. This top drum is adjustable right there. Okay, these knobs right here adjust the tilt of the drum, which makes the sandpaper go back and forth. So you don't want to mess with those. If the sandpaper is running in the center already, you don't want to mess with that at all. This lever loosens it so you can change the belt. If the belt needs to be changed, you can just call me in and I'll change it. Okay, so table, this down here is the base, this right here is the on and off switch. I'm going to come around. This is the disc sander. It runs that way, so it goes downward. see this arrow here, it's telling you which way it's going. This also has the ability to tilt by loosening this knob, and there's another knob on the other side, and that tilts the table down. The same rule applies for the gap right here. Should be about 1/8 of an inch. You don't want any more than 1/8 of an inch, because if you had more, there's always a possibility of things going down in there and causing all kinds of problems. Okay, so we'll start here. On this machine, you don't want to get your fingers anywhere close to this sanding disc. So as a general rule, I say that you should stay about 2 inches apart. So from here to here, 2 inches away. So if I'm sanding a piece that's smaller than 2 inches, you could use that as your rule. Don't sand anything on the disc sander that is smaller than 2 inches, because your hands are way too close and you could slip, and then this is going to take off skin right away because it moves very fast. So on the disc sander only, you don't want to use, or you don't want to sand any part that's smaller than 2 inches. So hold on 1 second. I'm going to get a piece of wood so that I can show you how this works. Okay, let's come back here. All right. So as you can tell, this piece of wood has this little thing that it's pretty smooth going here, but it's rough because those are the lines that come from the bandsaw. So I want to sand this all so it looks really smooth. Now on the disc sander, you want to sand on the downstroke. That means from the center point, which is right there, I don't want to sand on this side. I always want to sand from the center point over. So I only have this much area that I can actually sand on with this sander. Because if I sand on this side, what will happen is it'll grab the material and throw it out. So you always want to sand on the downstroke. Okay? This is a big enough piece for me to sand. Now if I try to do this, I would be doing something wrong, because now my fingers are too close. Okay? I have to stay 2 inches away from the disc at all times when I'm sanding it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. So it moves pretty fast. Now the other thing you want to do is you want to move your material One of the other safety things, as you can see that it's still running, is you don't want to walk away from the sander until it stopped moving. You always want to wait till it stops moving before you walk away. And I just want to show you the difference here of now how smooth that is. So both the disc sander and the belt sander are only for the purpose of sanding smooth, not for cutting the material. So if you're cutting anything more than, let's say, 1/8 of an inch, if you need to take off anything more than 1/8 of an inch, you should do it on either the scroll saw, the bandsaw, any of the power tools to cut the material. These machines are only for cleaning up the material, making it smoother. And in this case, you can see that this is a nice smooth edge, okay, and that's what this disc sander is for. It's not for taking down material all the way down to the line there, okay. That I should be able to cut on the bandsaw, not on the sander. I'm going to go over to the belt sander real quick. Okay. So now on the belt sander, it's a little bit different than on the other sanders. You can actually sand smaller pieces of material on the belt sander, because this isn't going to get you the way the disc sander is. So let's just say that I wanted to sand this small piece. Now once I get to here, I'm pretty close, and that can be dangerous. I'm going to change the angle real quick. I want you guys to see. Okay, let me grab another piece of scrap wood here. Alright, so if I'm sanding this piece of wood, I'm actually 2 inches away from the belt. Now I can get on this sander, I can actually get this close because it's not going to hurt me as much as the disc sander will. It doesn't go as fast, so let me move that away. You still want to be careful that you don't get your hand on the sandpaper. This table isn't 290 degrees, so it's not sanding a 90-degree angle on this piece of wood. Okay. The other thing you want to do is you want to move where you're sanding, because you don't want the sandpaper or the piece of material to heat up. So I waited just so that you could see that you need to wait after you turn it off for the belt to stop moving before you walk away from the sander. Okay? You don't want to just turn it off and walk away, because someone can come back, they don't know it's on, and then we got all kinds of issues. But this sanded this pretty smooth. Okay? So it's for cleaning up whatever you've cut to make it smooth. That's what these are for. They're not for cutting material. All right. So I think I got all the parts that you'll need. On and off switch, table, sander, adjustment knob, base, okay, angle, the table lever to release the angle. So those are all things you'll need to know in order to finish the assignment. Now, one of the main things is that also you don't want to just push in one area and keep on that one area pushing on the sandpaper, because that creates friction, and with friction that creates heat, and that's going to burn your wood and also ruin the sandpaper. So it's a good practice for when you sand it, move it back and forth. Okay. So you get a nice smooth surface, but you're not heating up this wood to the point that it burns. Okay. Now, this thing here looks like a big, huge eraser, and what this is for is to clean this off. As you can tell, it's got glue stuck in there. So if this sandpaper starts to look really ugly and you need to come and ask for the cleaner. And that's all you're going to do is drag it across there. It takes off enough of the glue that's on there from people sanding stuff so that it gets cleaner. Now on this machine, you possibly can get away with sanding something this small. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. On the belt sander only. When you get over to the disc sander, it's a little bit more dangerous, so you don't want to cut anything smaller than 2 inches on that. Okay, the other thing that you want to make sure you do is this. Only one person is to be working on these sanders at a time, because it overloads the motor and you could cause damage to it. So if someone's sanding here and someone's sanding on this one at the same time, you're going to overload the machine. So you want to make sure that only one person per sander. That means if I'm working here, someone doesn't come and start working on this one. Okay, you need to wait till this one person gets off the machine before you come to it and start working on it. The same thing on the other disc sander on the other side. You don't want to have two people working on them because it overloads the machine and you could damage it. So one person on the disc and belt sander at a time. Remember, the belt and disc sander is for fine sanding. It's not for cutting material down. So anything more than 1/8 of an inch that you have to take off of material, you want to do it on a saw, the bandsaw, the scroll saw. Once we get to the miter saw and so on, you want to do it there. This is just for fine sanding to get a nice smooth edge on a project that you're working on. So that's the only reason we use the disc sander, the belt sander, and the oscillating sander. It shouldn't be for shaping your project, rough shaping your project. It should be for finish shaping your project, okay? All right. So that's about it for the belt sanders. Remember, if the belt is frayed, don't use it. Come and get me and I'll change the belt. If you hear it making some kind of funny noise, turn it off immediately. Come and get me. I'll check it out, see if there's anything wrong with it. One person per sander. Keep your fingers 2 inches away on the disc sander. Always. Always sand on the downside. Okay? You can get closer to 2 inches on the belt sander because it's not going to get you like the disc sander will. All right. So that's it on the sanders. I will have for tomorrow a safety test, a worksheet that you have to work on in order to get the credit for the belt sander. So there'll be a PowerPoint and there'll be a worksheet that goes with it, and that's what you'll do tomorrow. Any questions on this machine?